There we go. Okay, so that's really the intention. We're going to be asking those questions. So come each week, having read the chapter, write down your notes, write down what spoke to you, and write down, how are you going to apply this to your Plexus business? How are you going to use that information to improve your Plexus business? So we have 28 of us on here tonight. First off, I want to congratulate you because a lot of this business is showing up. Quite honest, a lot of this business is just show up, keep showing up, and 28, 29 now showed up tonight. So I appreciate that. So who has read the book, or the chapter, read the first chapter? I see a couple of head nods, a couple hands went up. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm just going to start asking questions. So right off the bat, I'm going to give you guys opportunity to talk here. So what stuck out to you? What did you learn? What was the thing that was in lights for you? What was the shining moment for you in chapter 1?
I'm not quite sure how you want us to, if you want us to raise hands or what, but.
Yeah, you can go ahead and raise a hand and then unmute yourself so we have a little bit of structure, okay, I guess, to this. Yeah.
I'll figure out how to do that next time.
Yeah, what do you got? You're doing great. What do you got?
Well, none of this is new to me. It's things that I've seen a lot. But being perfectly honest, I haven't figured out how to apply it until very recently. And so reading this was more of like confirmation to me, and then just pressing me forward to, especially I think, to begin to be aware of any toxic ideas, toxic thoughts, emotions, that kind of thing, so that I can turn them around, so that I can begin to rebuild those areas of my mind and bring them into where they should be, to honor God and in line with the calling that God's given me in Plexus and as a wife and a mom. So I think that's the primary thing for me, is like overriding as I was going through that it was just confirmation after confirmation that I need to be more intentional. That's the application, is that I need to be more intentional. If I have to write it down and then write the positive or whatever to begin to somehow capture those thoughts.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So can you give us any examples, any practical examples of what that looks like exactly? Maybe a limiting thought or something like that you've had to deal with?
There's been a lot. In the last year, I have come through an extreme burnout. I have also had to come to grips with some things from my past and finally work through some pretty deep healing around a loss of our child, our daughter. And so a lot of negative thoughts came with that. And so as far as how that impacted the business, there was a lot of feeling worthless, thoughts of worthlessness, not being worthy of succeeding. Also comparison, and not like a conscious comparison necessarily, but realizing on this side of the work I've done over the last few months that I was looking to other people and trying to do what they were doing, rather than looking at what they were doing to learn from it and then to find my way to apply it and how God wants me to do this business. I think my biggest thing right now is this idea that I'll go back to where I was. Like, maybe I'll slide back into those dark places and those dark thoughts. And so that's my biggest battle, is saying, no, you've done the work. God's doing the work in you and you will move forward. Very practically, I guess, on the business is this idea of rebuilding. I went Ruby last year, but I've not held it. And so I do need to rebuild back to Ruby, and that's scary. That scares me, because even though I did it the first time, I couldn't tell you how I did it. Like, the systems weren't there. And so that's part of the mindset that needs to shift, and that I need to like dive down and ask the questions and find the root of those things so that I can begin to figure that out.
Perfect. Rebecca, thank you so much. Also, thank you for being vulnerable and going first. I appreciate that. That's a sign of strength, by the way. Vulnerability is a sign of strength. And Rebecca's about the strongest person on here. You just shared, honestly, you just shared like, we could talk about everything you just talked about for the next hour. So I really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing with us. But here's the thing. I want you guys to understand something. When it comes to like mindset stuff, thought stuff, the business stuff of Plexus, how can I say this? My wife says I'm really sometimes way too much to the point. So if I am, I apologize. But if you're dealing with mindset issues or thoughts or negativity or whatever in your Plexus business, you're not special. Like everybody here deals with that, right? They have dealt with it. They are dealing with it. They will deal with it again. Like this business brings these things out of us. So if you're dealing with some things like that, just know you're in good company. You know, you're not in this alone, and you're not dealing with some of these thoughts or these thoughts of worthiness or these thoughts of these negative ideas or negative thoughts. We're all dealing with them. I deal with them. I deal with them on a daily basis. And so it's not like you just get to a certain rank and then the negativity or the hardship goes away. It usually reveals a bigger one. Like as you keep going, new levels bring new devils. I've heard someone say. So, it's not like this thing doesn't end. All right. I don't know if that's encouraging or not, but but these things can be overcome. Right. We're all overcoming things. We're overcoming negative thoughts. We're overcoming patterns that we've had since childhood. Right. Some of the patterns that we're dealing with. He talks about the subconscious mind in this chapter. The subconscious mind is the things that we do without even thinking. And a lot of times we don't even realize some of the things we're thinking or some of the things that we are saying about ourselves. So I'm going to start off just right off the front on the page number 1. On page number 1, I absolutely believe this. It says, if you want things to change for you, you have to change yourself first. If you want things to improve for you, you have to improve yourself first. And that's the reason of this call. We're wanting to get better, right? We're wanting to get better. And that's why we're on this call. But the thing is, we're going to have to take responsibility for our own business. We're going to have to take responsibility for the thoughts that we think. We're going to have to take responsibility for the things that we do with our time, right? We're going to have to take responsibility for the words we use. We're going to have to take responsibility for who we allow to speak into our life. There's some negative Debbie Downers we have in our life, and we need to silence them. Now, some of them, that's a little bit hard because some of them we're related to. I get it, right? And some of them are negative, maybe even about our Plexus business. I have been called at a family gathering in front of everybody a propagandized Plexus minion. So, what do you do with that? What do you do with those negative words or those negative comments, right? And those are things we have to just learn to overcome. So I keep saying that over and over because one of these days I will be on stage at convention or leaders retreat, and you will hear that again. You will hear that. That's a direct quote from a loving family member, but we don't need to say who it was. Anyway, so the point is, I can't do anything about their comments. I have no control over what they say. I have control over what I do, how I respond to that. How am I going to respond to that? Am I going to allow it to shut my Plexus business down because they're negative? Or because they're dealing with stuff or refusing to deal with their own stuff? I missed the quote. I was called I was called a propagandized Plexus minion by a family member at a family supper family dinner one Sunday after church, of course. So, that, whatever. But the thing is, we're going to have to take ownership. We're going to have to take ownership of all these things. We can't control what we can control. I can't control other people's words. I can't control other people's thoughts about network marketing. I can't control other people's thoughts about Plexus Slim and how much it costs, right? I can't control any of that. What I can control is my attitude, and I can control my thoughts. I can control what I think. I can control what I allow in here. I can control who speaks into my life and who doesn't. I can control who I spend time with and who I don't. Do those people build me up and add to my life, or are they like a suck? Do they just suck the life and joy right out of me? Now, why am I bringing all these things up? Like, I thought this was a Plexus call. This is a life call, right? This is stuff we can apply to every bit of our life. But so the thing is, we're going to have to take extreme ownership of our life, of our business, of our words, of our thoughts, of our actions, of our business. The first thing is, we can't blame anybody else. We can't blame our upline. We can't blame the government. We can't blame anything else. This is our gig, and we are going to succeed. So we're going to have to take ownership of this thing. So one thing is, in light of our thoughts and what we think, let's talk about that for a minute. So anybody who's read this, or even if you haven't read it, but we're talking about mindset here. So one thing is that our thoughts directly affect everything, right? I have wasted a lot of time blaming. Lisa Foster, thank you for sharing. Lisa, you're not alone. We all have. This is a growing experience that we're involved in. So one thing, let's talk about our thoughts real quick, just in general, based off the book and based off the just based off your own experience with Plexus. Let's talk about these limiting thoughts. Let's just name off really fast. Let's just do this. Let's name some limiting thoughts that we have when it comes to our Plexus business. I want you to identify with some of these. Go ahead and unmute and share one. Negative thoughts, limiting beliefs that we have.
Just that you can't do it. You don't know enough information.
Okay, there's one. What else we got?
Good things don't happen to me.
What's that? Who we got here? Who's someone's trying to talk. All the time won't pay off. Okay.
I said I'm too busy.
Too busy. Okay.
That's what I tell myself.
Okay. Okay. What other ones we got? These are good ones.
I've been afraid I might start something that I can't finish or keep up with.
Okay. I can't do it all. I see that in the chat. What else?
Good things.
What else?
Oh, I have thoughts that I don't have what it takes to develop leaders and grow business, and I'm too busy.
Okay. Well, these are doozies. What else we got here? What else we have?
Good things don't happen to me.
Okay. Okay.
I can't do it as well as somebody else can.
No one wants to hear from me.
Okay. How about I don't have enough time?
I've said I've never succeeded before, so what makes me think I'll succeed now?
Okay.
I've said I can't actually help people.
Yeah. I'm not a good leader, as one Stacy said. Let's blame an upline. My upline doesn't do ... Right? And we can go on and on and on, right? I don't think there's any reason to keep going here. One of the things, the market is saturated. Okay. Okay. Now, one thing I want to ask when it comes to these thoughts that we have, this is the first thing we have to do. Write down Philippians 4:8. I don't know what your faith is, what your faith background is. I don't know what your, doesn't matter. But one thing you'll start to see when you're looking at personal growth books and you're starting to see books that deal with mindset, they've robbed all their principles and ideas out of the Bible. They've repackaged them and sold them. These are all biblical principles, regardless of what you believe. It's just what it is. Write down Philippians 4:8. We're going to deal with some of these things practically real quick. Philippians 4:8. I don't mean for this to be a Bible study. This is a mindset study. Philippians 4:8 says, finally, this is something I want you to do when you have these thoughts. This is very practical thing that we can do. When we have these thoughts, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I've never succeeded, I'm not going to succeed now, on and on and on and on, right? We could keep going all day with negative thoughts. We don't ever run out of negative thoughts. The question is, what are we going to do with them? So Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. So the Bible actually talks about thinking. It actually talks about it a lot. I have several scriptures tonight that I'm going to share with you. Here's the thing you should ask when you have these thoughts, these limiting beliefs or these limiting thoughts or words. We're going to cover words here in a minute because your words your thoughts end up being words. You think on it long enough, you will speak it. But the first thing you need to ask when you have these thoughts is this: is it true? Is it true? So someone said they've never succeeded at anything in life. Is that true? I don't believe that to be true. You showed up for this call tonight. You're a success, right? Is it true? I can't help somebody. Is that true? Rebecca, is that true? It's not true. It's not true. Some of you are like, I don't have time. Is that really true? We need to combat these ideas and these negative thoughts that we have. And you are not just going to wake up and just be all of a sudden on cloud nine and just think pure and lovely and true all the time. These negative thoughts are things that we're going to have to deal with in this business. That's things we're going to have to deal with in life. Write down this one, Proverbs 4:23. Proverbs 4:23. It says to keep your heart. I would clump mind in with heart. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. We have to keep our mind with all diligence. It's a diligent work to combat negative thoughts and to combat negative ideas. We're going to have to be diligent. We're not just going to, like I said, we're not just going to wind up. We're not just going to land in the world of positivity. It's going to take work. It's like a battle. It's like a battle. So that's Proverbs 4:23. It's going to take diligent work to get our mind right and to get our thoughts going in the right direction. Before we move on, I want to just say, in light of thoughts, those are some practical ways in light of how we can do it. There's some other practical ways, I think, in light of thoughts. How can we guard our thoughts, or how can we change our thinking? What's some practical ways we can do this? How about who you hang around? How important is that? If we're spending time with people or influences that are telling us that our Plexus business is too expensive, or it's not right, or it's blah, 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 or you're just trying to make money off of sick people, or whatever, you can just go right on down the list, whatever. Do you think that will affect your work performance? Yeah. So one of the things with our thoughts is we're going to have to guard not only our thoughts, we're going to have to guard, not only guard what we're thinking, we're going to have to guard what we allow in. We're going to have to guard ourselves from not only what's inside of our head, we're going to have to guard ourselves from what's outside of our head trying to get in, the negativity, the comparison, all of these things. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to guard ourselves from that. I know it sounds strange, but our Plexus business, quite honestly, relies on us thinking clearly. Like how we think is going to affect how we act. Like there's no way to disconnect the two. Eventually, who you are will show up, right? That's why I tell my kids all the time. I said, just give them time. They'll show you who they are. They can't, so the thing is, we're going to have to guard ourselves from those negative influences. Maybe it's people, maybe it's our own thoughts, maybe it's music, maybe it's the news, maybe it's your social media feed. There's plenty of negativity on that, right? Those things have an effect on us, and we're going to have to, again, take responsibility for our thoughts. We're going to have to take responsibility of what we're allowing in. Anybody have any examples of what I'm talking about here? Something that you've noticed, or something you've tried to guard yourself from to help just protect even your mental space, your mental clarity? How about the news?
I've had to stop watching the news.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Who was that? Who said that?
It's Krista.
Okay, hey, there you are. Hi. Yeah, it's great. That's great. Half of what's on the news is scary. The other half isn't true. So I don't know. What do you do with that? Like, how's it going to help your business? Right? How's it going to help your business and what we're called to? What else? Anybody else? What's some things that you've had to do to really protect yourself and protect your peace of mind?
I have one.
Yeah.
When my upline left Plexus, I had to just mute her because it was very negative.
Yep.
And I just couldn't let that get into my head anymore.
Yeah, great example. I unfollowed her too. Anyway, yeah, so anything else? So the thing is, I want all of us to see is all of these things that are around us will affect our Plexus business. How many of you have people in your corner that root you on, and maybe they're not even on the Plexus products? Anybody? That's the greatest ever. Those are the people you want to be around. Those are real friends. I have some friends that are like that, and they're just like, they're just rooting me on. They've never tried anything, probably won't ever try anything, but they're rooting me on. Those are the people I want to be around with. Those are the people I want to be around. So any other thoughts? There's so much we can do and talk about. There's so much we can do. There was a real practical thing I had wrote down as far as he talked about subconscious and conscious thinking. That subconscious stuff is the things that we do without even thinking about it. It's become a pattern or a habit. And some of those patterns are habits we've had since we were little. Patterns of scarcity or patterns of negativity or whatever. So those patterns are hard to identify. But here's one way that we can identify negative thinking patterns. We can identify them through what comes out of our mouth, right? What we say. Another scripture, there's so many scriptures I have that have to do with thinking and speaking. It's unbelievable how many there are. but he talks about, let me find my notes. Before we go on to, before we go into words, let's talk again about the company that we keep. Are they helping us? Are they helping us or hurting us when it comes to what we're really trying to accomplish in life? I talk to my kids about this all the time, but I tell them, I said, evil company corrupts good habits. Evil company corrupts good habits. Be not deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. That goes for every habit. Plexus habits, IPAs, everything. Thinking, speaking, it affects everything. That's 1 Corinthians 15:33. Evil company corrupts good habits. So we're going to have to be careful. Yes, friends should support and encourage. That's exactly right. Another one is with the company that we keep, and how it may affect our business or just our life in general, is Proverbs 13:26. Proverbs 13:26. Again, I didn't necessarily plan on this being a Bible study, but the Bible is just so clear on all these issues, it's hard to ignore. That just says, he who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. So the company we keep will affect our Plexus business, right? It'll affect us, our mindset in general, really. So one thing, moving on, let's move on to words, because our thoughts, if you look at page 2, there's a quote by Gandhi. It says, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. So one thing I want to talk to you about real quick is words. If you want to know what a person's really thinking, listen to their words. And I'm wanting to really focus here on the words we use, especially when we describe ourselves. It talks about scripts in here, having a script. The most important script is the words that we use on us. The most important scripts are the scripts that we use to describe ourselves. We were on a coaching call last night, and we talked through some things. Many of you were on that call. It was a great call. But if you listen to some people as you're coaching and talking to them, like, I'm terrible at numbers. Now, let's break this down real quick, right? I am terrible at technology, and I could never figure out my virtual life office, even if I tried, right? So let's break that down real quick. What do you think that person or that ambassador is going to do with their virtual office if that's the way they're talking about themselves? They're going to avoid it. Zero effort, exactly. Yeah, you're going to avoid it. Now, what if they would change the way that they spoke, right? What if they just changed their words? Maybe it's true you're not very good at technology. That's okay. I mean, I think we should be honest, right? We should be honest and truthful. Remember the first thing in Philippians 4:8, is it true? Maybe it is not finding, maybe it's 13:20. Look at 13:20. I can't read my writing. Proverbs 13:20, whoever was asking that on the, okay, perfect. So what if we just change our words? What if we change the words that we use? Like, I'm not very good at technology, but I'm learning how to be better in the virtual office. I'm making myself get in there and click on stuff every day to see what's in there. Do you think that this would change the way you approach your business? Do you think this would be a way you would approach your virtual office differently? Change the way that you speak. Change the words that we use. Again, if we want things to change, we're going to have to change. And it's going to be our thoughts. It's going to be our words, the words that we choose to use. Think about some of the words you use to describe yourself. We all talk to ourselves. I used to think I was crazy, and then I realized everybody talks to themselves. I was in good company. So either we're all crazy, or we're just in good company. I'm not sure which one, but let's talk about what's some words you use. Let's look at some limiting words that we might use to describe ourselves. We talked about thoughts that we've had. What about the actual words that come out of our mouth to describe ourselves? Probably going to look a lot like the thoughts, huh? Probably, they come out. We might say some really negative things about ourselves. I'm not smart, or I'm stupid, or whatever, right? I'm unorganized. There you go. I'm a mess, right? I don't have time. I don't have her network. I don't have her upline. If I had her upline, I would be ... Right? On and on and on and on. I have slow internet connection, right? All these things, all these limiting things that we say affect our business. I can't, right? I can't anything. I can't, exactly. So the thing is, we're gonna have to change the words that we use. One practical way we can do this is we can just, I would encourage you, if you're wanting to change, I would ask the people that you're around most of the time, what words do you hear me say about myself that would be negative or that might be holding me back? Ask them. Ask them to show you, or to share with you maybe what those words are. It might be surprising what they say. And then just start changing the words that we use, right? Don't speak evil of yourself. I mean, everybody on here can. Let me see what Stacy says here real quick. My husband has tried to ban I can't from our household. Perfect. I love it. We'll have to bring him on the call and talk to us about that. Yeah, so a lot of these things, a lot of these negative and limiting words that we use, we could just change the words we use. We need to change the words we use. That's what I would recommend. And like I said, ask the people that are closest with you, hey, do you ever hear me say some negative things about myself? What is it? What is it? And some of those things, when you're dealing with mindset and thoughts and things like this and patterns, some of those things may stem from years and decades ago. And it's time to just deal with those things and move on. It's time to deal with those things and move on. So what else? What else we have on? I want to hear some thoughts on words used that are possibly affecting your business negatively. Or how about this? How about let's think about how we can say some things that will affect our business positively. Has anybody heard of affirmations? Does anybody use affirmations? A little bit, maybe. Okay. Well, we have to start using them. And
Can I say?
Yeah.
Can I? I was just thinking before you said that, one of the things that I kind of felt could have been a compromise at times for me was when I heard about affirmations and they would tell you to take something that you aren't or that you don't do and turn it around and tell yourself that's what you're good at. And I felt like, I know in my mind that's a lie. So like, I like how you said, tell yourself things that are true, but you can claim God, like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can claim his power, even though I'm not. And I feel so much better about using those kinds of affirmations than ones that say, I'm on time all the time when I know I'm not.
Very good point, and I agree with you 100%. My wife and I have had this conversation time and time and time and time again when it comes to affirmations. If it's not true, I don't speak it. So I don't call myself, like, for example, when if I was maybe a gold ambassador, you know, you might hear something of like, just call yourself a diamond. I'm like, that's bogus to me, because you're not. So like affirmations are great if they are truthful. Now, that doesn't mean we have to settle for where we are, though. We can call things out, like, let's say you were a gold ambassador, and you could say, I'm a gold ambassador, but I'm working towards diamond. I know I can get there if I do, you know, whatever, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I don't think, on one hand, I think affirmations are extremely important and they should be truthful. However, they shouldn't be limiting either at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not good at, the truth would be, I'm not very good at follow-ups. That would be truthful, but I'm making myself do them every day, or I'm getting better at them all the time. Does that make sense? Uh-oh. Did I cut out for a second? Okay, sorry about that. So an affirmation, I think it has to be truthful, but at the same time, it can't be limiting at the same time. So like my example I was giving was, I'm not very good at follow-ups, but I'm learning to get better at them. Or I'm getting better at follow-ups all the time, right? So yeah, I'm being honest, but at the same time, it's not limiting me. So an affirmation should be truthful and not limiting at the same time. Any other thoughts on that as far as affirmations and the things that we say to ourselves? Yeah, Angie has a great example. She says, one of our sons struggles with math. I encourage him to say, I'm getting so much better at math. It makes him smile and work harder. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Words. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say that a friend of mine, she's a great leader. She's not in Plexus. Wish she was, but she kind of taught me to receive. A lot of times when we think and speak negative about ourselves, we can't receive what people see in us also. So like if somebody says, you're good at that, you just say, I receive that, instead of saying, well, I'm not really that great, but saying, I receive that, meaning I will let that speak into my life, and I will, yes.
100%. I absolutely agree with that. And the words that we use, here's another one, Proverbs 18:21. Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death. The tongue has the power of life and death. That's the words that we allow that come into our mind from outside, and that's the words that we use ourselves. Have the power of life or death. They have the power to bless or to curse. So if we're going to be using words to describe ourselves, we might as well be speaking words of blessing. Right? Sometimes it's just a small shift. Sometimes it's just a small shift in the words that we use. So what else? Who else has something that stuck out to them in the chapter that we can cover really fast before we get done here? About thinking, about any of this stuff, mindset, words, influences. Amber says, I like to quote in the book that the mind cannot survive on junk food. That's right. That's right. Garbage in, garbage out. So what we put in will come out eventually, right? One thing I want to give you guys permission to do really fast is this. This is something that took me about 44 years to learn. And I know a lot of the people on this call are from a Christian background. So I want to speak to that really fast. We have this idea in Christian circles that we're really not doing something if we're if we're not tired and worn out and aggravated, right? That really proves our service, right? I want to give you permission to take care of you, right? It took me 44 years to, out of all the priorities that God has given me, my wife, my kids, my business, my finances, all those things, the thing I've made my number one priority is me. Now, I know that that's countercultural. I know that some will think, well, that is just selfish. Not really. Because the level that I take care of myself is how good of a husband I'm going to be. Like if I'm tired and angry and at the end of my rope all the time, that's going to affect the type of husband I'm going to be. It's going to affect the type of dad I'm going to be. It's going to affect the type of business that I run. Right? So I want to give you permission to take care of you. Now, that can be taken too far, right? And that can turn into selfish. That's not what I'm suggesting here. I'm suggesting that all the things and all the people and things around you, including your plexus business, deserve you to be healthy mentally. They deserve us to be healthy spiritually, physically, financially, emotionally. So we have to learn to take care of ourselves. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to be thinking clearly. He mentions that in on the top of page 7, he just says toxic thoughts are limiting and destructive as the plague. You have to take care of yourself. And we do. We should become our number one priority, because when I'm at my best, I'm better at everything else, all my other priorities. So one thing that I've had to learn to do is to take care of myself. In the morning, I take care of my mind. I take care spiritually. I take care of my physical body before I even see any of my other family members, because I want to be the best for them. Before I even do anything with plexus, I take care of myself. I get my mind right. I get my thoughts thinking in a good direction. I pray. I spend time being quiet, right? So I want to encourage you to take care of yourself. Spend some time being quiet. Think, think through stuff, pray. He gave us a list of practical things on page 4 that we can do that will help with our mindset, that will help with the words we use, that will help with the people we spend time with. And he says, reading daily will help you develop a millionaire mindset. Become a reader. Be a reader of good things. Read things about good people. Become a reader. Meditate. Now that freaks some people out. I'm not afraid of the word meditate whatsoever. The scripture uses the word meditate, right? So think, right? Is what I think that if I were to translate that, think, right? Spend time thinking, meditate, exercise. This is all on page 4. Meditate, exercise, take care of your physical body. Our physical body directly influences our hormones. It directly influences our thinking. So exercise, take care of our physical body. Eliminate toxic people. Now, again, some of these people you're not going to be able to get rid of completely because you're related to them. That's just the way this game works. I don't understand it, but that's just the way it is. So we all have one or a couple. So do your best to eliminate toxic people. If you can't eliminate them completely, eliminate their influence on the way that you think and speak. You can remove yourself from a conversation, right? Go find something else to do. If you're at a family dinner and someone's talking negative, that plexus, network marketing and pyramid schemes, and I saw something on CNN and whatever, it's like, I'm out. I'll even go do dishes. Like, I'm out of here. I'll find something else to do to protect my mind. Breathe deeply. That's another thing it says, just breathe. Breathing exercises are incredibly important. They're incredibly powerful. Just take time breathing and focus on your breath. Boil everything down to that basic element of breath. Clear your mind. And it says, and recognize the actions that work best in order to care for the best computer in the world, which is our mind. Recognize those things, read inspirational books, listen to success stories, watch videos, documentaries of successful people. Diamond documentaries. You're having a belief issue, watch diamond documentaries. We have seen diamond documentaries in our household and our family by the hundreds for the last 6 years. We have seen so many. When we first started, Megan would watch diamond documentaries in our bed at night until I passed out. Like, it was constant. It was a constant thing. Yeah, Sarah says VIP calls this week. Put yourself in position to be successful, right? Put yourself in position to be successful. Read these calls. One other thing that's really good for your thoughts and your thought process, which will affect your business, is this. On page 8, he says to breathe deeply. Again, breathe deeply and connect with nature every morning or at any time during the day to cleanse your mind and to detoxify all the toxins in your life. Nature has an absolute incredible way of purifying your thoughts. And I would recommend go outside without your cell phone and just enjoy the fresh air and enjoy creation. It has a way of resetting the way that you think. When you watch just the simple things, the sunset, the sunrise, the way a bird flies, the way a kitten plays, whatever the thing is for you, those things will help reset our mind. We need to be constantly resetting and renewing our mind with the things we read, with the things we're looking at, with the things that we're listening to, the people we're listening to. Half the negative news that we get, we can't do anything about anyway. And we let that ruin our whole day. We'll hear something of news out of Washington. And I say that, and I'm in the middle of that. Like, our family is deeply involved in politics, like at the congressional level. So we hear this stuff all the time, and yet I have to protect myself from that yet. There's only so much of it I can listen to before it affects me. And I can't do anything about any of it anyway. What I can do is I can remove myself from the situation and go find something else to do. So anyway, we've got just a few minutes. Anybody have something they need to share before we get off here? Rebecca, yeah, absolutely, it does. Again, though, again, some of that stuff we can do stuff about, some of it we can't. But what we can do is we can decide what is going to affect us negatively and what's not. And sometimes we might just have to remove ourselves from the room or from a conversation. And, just for our own sake, for our own good, for our own health. What else? Who else has something before we get off here? Anything else from the chapter or anything else on thought process or words or the company we keep, the books we read? Nothing. Any complaints? How about that? We got any concerns or complaints that we might have? No? Okay. Well, we are going to get off here. If there's anything as we get off these calls or whatever, if there's anything that you need to or feel you need to reach out to me about or reach out to anybody about, I would recommend you reach out to them. We're dealing with mindset. We're dealing with things of the thought process. And sometimes those can bring up some issues, and I want to encourage you, though, we all have issues. And so the thing what?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you feel like you're surrounded, even at home, by others who have a negative mindset about you and your business, how do you handle that? Because like I'm trying to tell myself the positive, but then I'm surrounded by the negative.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's very difficult. So sometimes if you're around, if it's that close, then maybe you have to pick and choose when you talk about plexus and when you don't. I know we've had people on our team that their husbands were extremely negative about plexus, And so, and Megan has some good advice on what to do with a negative husband. You should, I can't really say as good as she does, but anyway, her and Brooke Hemingway has some really good advice on that. But one of the things I would say is pick and choose when you talk about it. I'm not saying this about you, Lisa, at all, but I do know that sometimes we want everybody around us to be involved with Plexus. So we push Plexus, push Plexus, push Plexus, or like during family time, we'll be on our phone working Plexus rather than being totally engaged with your spouse or your children. I am, and I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying there's a danger in that. And because of that, sometimes Plexus is looked at as negative because of the way we're choosing to spend our time, maybe at the wrong moment. So I think sometimes you may have to just work your play, maybe just not even talk about it in there's certain things that I don't even talk about with people, because I know it'll turn negative. So I think just choose your conversations carefully. And when you have your quiet time and you can go and work Plexus. And then when it's family time, make it family time. And try not to mingle the two, if that makes sense, if you can do that, if that's possible. Who else? Anybody else have anything before we get going here? Again, really fast. I know we're dealing with thoughts and words and those things, like I said, so we're dealing with who we are really as people. And sometimes those bring up issues. And like I said, we're all dealing with issues. There's not anybody here that's not dealing with an issue. If you're not, get ready, because you're about to deal with an issue. It's just the planet we live on. This is the world we live in. It's just the way it is. I didn't write this. It's just the way it is. But what I would encourage you is don't deal with some of these things alone. Like, find somebody to talk to. Maybe talk to your upline. Like, hey, I'm having these limiting beliefs on my business. Reach out to them and ask them and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Can you help me? If you have to reach out to me, I'll help you. So anyway, I just wanted to say that really fast. Now, next week, we're going to be going into chapter 2, and it's talking about, this is getting good. I think this book is very, very good. But we're going to be going over how to connect with the heart, how to connect at the heart level with people when you're talking with people. There's some really practical things in there. So what I would recommend you do is read chapter 2 and write down the things that really speak to you. And then we'll talk about maybe what we can apply to our life and to our Plexus business. Also, since we're done with chapter 1, I would recommend not just being done and just throwing chapter 1 out the window, but really take some time after this before you dive into chapter 2 and really think through, okay, what do I have? What limiting thoughts do I have? What limiting or negative words do I use? And how can I change that? How can I make an adjustment here? And so I'd really spend some time thinking through some of those things. And then make some of the corrections, make some of the adjustments that you need to make. Whether it's eliminating a negative influence or whatever. So, anybody else have anything before we go? No? Carissa? She's typing.
Yeah, I've been trying to type. I don't like interrupting the flow, but I was just going to type that. Thank you so much for preparing.
Yeah, thank you. And thank all you guys for getting on here. This is awesome. 30 some people on tonight. This is great. For those of you who don't have a book, hopefully you'll get that this week and you can get caught up on chapter 1 and chapter 2. But again, really think through all the things you're thinking and saying, and make the right adjustments. Reach out to someone if you're needing help with any of these things, and then read chapter 2 and be ready next week to share. Guys, have a great night. We'll see you soon.